Hello guys, and Merry Christmas. Today I want to give a defense of the Christmas tree. Is it okay for Christians to set up Christmas trees, or does the Bible speak against it? Let's look into this.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how do we see thee lie? Above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by.
Now, a passage many people use against Christmas trees is in Jeremiah 10. Let's read it. Hear the word which the Lord speaks to you, O house of Israel. Thus says the Lord, do not learn the ways of the nations, and do not be terrified by the signs of the heavens, although the nations are terrified by them. For the customs of the people are delusion, because it is wood cut from the forest, or some translations say, because they cut down a tree from the forest. The work of hands of a craftsman with his cutting tool. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, so that it will not totter. Now this passage some will use against Christmas trees. Now, fortunately for me, this Christmas tree is not made of wood. It's not a real tree. It's a fake tree. Also, it's not nailed down. And what about being decorated with gold or silver? You don't see any of that on there. Regardless, what this passage is talking about is an idol, not a Christmas tree. Look at the part that says, the work of the hands of a craftsman with a cutting tool. Somebody is cutting into the wood to shape it into something, probably something that they identify with as a god. And if we did not stop at verse 4, we continue to verse 5, we'll get this more explicitly explained. Like a scarecrow in a cucumber field they are, and they cannot speak, they must be carried, because they cannot walk. Do not fear them, for they can do no harm, nor can they do any good. And see, that's another thing. These pagan nations were afraid of their idols because they thought that they were gods. That's why it says they cannot speak. It implies that they've got a mouth to point out the irony that they cannot speak. It says they can do no good, so they can't protect your house, nor can they do harm, so you don't need to be afraid of them. They are like a scarecrow in the cucumber field. And that's why verse 3 says the customs of the people are a delusion. They're delusional in thinking that their gold-paved wooden idol with arms that can't work, legs that can't work, a mouth that can't work, will be able to protect their house. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never been afraid of a Christmas tree. Nor have I ever trusted my Christmas tree to protect my house. This is not an idol. Christmas trees, as we Christians use them, are a decoration. They're a way to help us get into the festive season to celebrate the coming of God in the flesh in the person of Jesus. And although God is very much against the creation and worship of idols, God has no problem with decorations. In fact, when Moses was building the tabernacle, and Solomon was building the temple, and then Ezra was building the second temple, God actually instructed them to use a whole lot of fancy decorations in those holy places. Now, what kind of decorations did they use? Well, you actually might be surprised. Exodus 25 actually describes an interesting piece of furniture that was to be put in the sanctuary of the tabernacle of God, or in the holy place. The piece of furniture is called the golden lampstand, and this is what it looks like. This is called the menorah, and it's very popular in Judaism. It's designed to look like a tree. Now, when Solomon had his temple built, it describes that he actually had 10 golden lampstands in his temple. Now, of Solomon's temple, we actually have very fine details described in the Bible of how he decorated the temple. He brought in a skilled craftsman named Hiram to work on the temple design. And in 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 36, it describes a little part of his design of how he designed the walls. Check it out. And he engraved on the plates and stays and on its borders cherubim, lions, and palm trees according to the clear space on each, with wreaths all around. So Solomon's temple, all across the sanctuary, had tree decorations on it, in addition to the 10 Menorim? I think menorot would probably be right. Every temple that has ever been built to God has had tree decorations in it. It's just part of the aesthetic design that God instructed in his temple. And this is with good reason. The temple was to symbolize Eden to Israel. As they're coming into the temple, it was to be as though they're returning to the Garden of Eden, where there is the tree of life. It is there that Adam and Eve celebrated their fellowship with God. And as the priests come into the temple, they are coming back into the presence of God, as it was in the time of the Garden of Eden. Thus, it was perfectly appropriate for God to inscribe tree decorations in his sanctuary to remind the people of the Garden of Eden where they celebrate his presence. Now, put that way, I think a tree decoration is really a good symbolism to express God coming down to have fellowship with us. If tree decorations were to remind Israel that they were coming into the presence of God, how much more can tree decorations remind us that God is coming into our presence? And I'm going to end with this passage from Isaiah 60, verse 13. It says, "The glory of Lebanon will come to you, the juniper, the box tree, and the cypress together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I shall make the place of my feet glorious." So God is not against you decorating your house with trees to remember his presence in your home. He was the first to decorate his house with trees so that we could come into his presence. So is there any reason to think that we Christians shouldn't set up Christmas trees to celebrate Christmas? Not at all. The Bible has no problem with it. Thanks for watching, guys, and keep the faith.